I am going to attempt to rebuild the New York Jets within 5 seasons. I am using a roster for the upcoming season, which means we will have a lot of rookies on this team because I can't update guys like Zach Wilson to go into their second year. The thing with this rebuild is I will be using Zach Wilson for the entire episode, whether that takes all 5 seasons or not. He is a hidden dev trait, so he will at least be a star. Now, I did change some other people's dev traits, like whenever you first get this roster, Breece Hall, pretty much all the rookies I think are going to be normal dev trait. But because Breece Hall was the best running back in this class, I gave him a star dev trait. I gave Garrett Wilson a star dev trait because he was the number 10 pick. And then over on the defensive side, I gave Ahmad Gardner a star dev trait because he was a high draft pick, and I think he was the best corner in the draft. I love Derek Stingley. I think Derek Stingley is a fantastic corner, but I liked Ahmad Gardner better. And then I also gave their other first-round pick, Jermaine Johnson II, a star dev trait. But without further ado, I'm going to jump to mid-season, and I will check in with you guys then. At the midway point, we are 2-4, and we have the number 27 offense and the number 31 defense. That is obviously not very good. Let's take a look at how our quarterback is doing. He has almost 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall has 62 attempts for 279 yards and only 2 touchdowns. And receiving-wise, Elijah Moore leading the team in yards with 406 and 1 touchdown. CJ Uzomah with 5 touchdowns. That was one of their new signings this last offseason. And Garrett Wilson with 17 catches and 4 touchdowns. We are not throwing the ball a whole lot. Corey Davis, 16 catches for 162 yards. We have now jumped to the end of the season where we went 6-11. I may have looked at the team rankings wrong at midseason, but we finished with the number 23 offense and the number 18 defense. I think what I did is I looked on the immediate next level where it says 12 for offensive passing yards a game. So I may have said the defensive rank, whatever that was. It looks like at some point Zach Wilson got hurt because Flacco came in to throw 12 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, but Wilson ends with about 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 8 picks. Not a horrible rookie year. Breece Hall, 169 carries, almost 700 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Receiving-wise, Elijah Moore, 80 catches, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, 74 catches for 7 touchdowns. CJ Uzomah, 82 for 7 scores. And Corey Davis, 50 catches for 5 touchdowns. It looks like Zach Wilson missed about 6 games here. He went 3-8 as a starter, winning the final game of the season 40-34 and throwing for 300 yards. But yeah, it looks like he was out between weeks 10 and 15. Real quick, looking around the league, Tom Brady, who is wearing number 6 for some reason. I don't know why that happened. I guess this roster has him wearing 6. I'm not real sure why, but he threw 5,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Who led the league in touchdowns? It was Aaron Rodgers with 44, and interceptions was Jared Goff with 20. Leading the league in rushing yards was Jonathan Taylor with 1,707 and 20 touchdowns, but Kamara led the league in rushing touchdowns with 21. DeAndre Hopkins leads the league in receptions with 104. Godwin and Kittle both got 100. In yards was Godwin, and in touchdowns was AJ Green with 16. All right, that is not what I was expecting. I completely forgot to look at our defensive stats, but CJ Mosley leads the team in tackles with 108, and Ahmad Gardner got 105 tackles. And we should get CJ Mosley back next season, which should help this defense a lot. Who led the team in sacks? It was Carl Lawson with 12.5. Did Jermaine Johnson got 2? All right, what about interceptions? Ahmad Gardner got 3, Bryce Hall got 2, and then Lawson got 1, Joyner got 1, Jordan Whitehead, Javelin Goudry, if I'm saying that name right, Ashton Davis. Leading the league in tackles was Zaven Collins. In sacks, it was Jeffrey Simmons with 22. Aaron Donald had 20. And then interceptions, Marshawn Lattimore got 11. That might be the highest amount of simulation picks I've seen in this game. And here is how the playoffs shaped up. It will be the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. And in my worst nightmare, the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl 38-14. It looks like the MVP was Alvin Kamara. Coach of the Year was Mike McCarthy. Offensive Player of the Year was Alvin Kamara. Defensive Player of the Year, Jeffrey Simmons. Offensive Rookie of the Year was Mac Jones. And Defensive Rookie of the Year was Trayvon Walker. Obviously, Mac Jones is not a rookie anymore, but yeah. So obviously, I cannot update what draft picks we have. So we have 2 ones, including Seattle's, which the Jets don't really have anymore. But they had it in the last draft, so that's why it's here. But we have pick 5 and pick 11. And I am bringing back none of these guys. We're going to let them all walk. There's only 10 players available for negotiations. And we're going to let them all hit free agency and hopefully try to build this team up. Scrolling through the retirements, it looks like AJ Green has retired after leading the league in touchdown catches last year, which doesn't seem very realistic, but whatever. So obviously it's weird to see stuff like this, like Jordan Davis is here in free agency. He was a first-round pick by Philadelphia this year. He's definitely not going to get cut after the first season, but that's just some of the stuff that we're going to see here doing this. But he is a normal depth trait, and he's not even a scheme fit, so we're not going to bring him in. Alright, so I'm only offering 2 contracts in this offseason, the first and main one being wide receiver Chris Godwin. I know we have a lot of money tied up in Corey Davis, but Davis is already the 3rd best receiver on the team because Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson have already passed him. So at some point, we're probably just going to have to eat that major cap hit, but for now, Chris Godwin can come in and actually be the superstar receiver that we need, and then Doug Costin, a 74 overall scheme fit star depth trait defensive tackle, to come in and play opposite Quinnen Williams. The rest of the free agents, there's not really any young upgrades available, and I don't want to sign a guy like Jason Kelce, who's going into probably his last year, just because we need a center. McGovern is a solid 77 overall, and Kelce is definitely more of a win-now situation. We lose out on Chris Godwin. He is going to go to Washington, and the 2nd best receiver in this free agency class, Odell Beckham, is headed to Houston. It's not even really a consolation prize, but we do land Doug Costin, so we at least get a star depth trait center, and now I'm going to see if we can upgrade receiver at all. Not really. Cole Beasley's an 81, but he's 33 years old. Antonio Brown's 34. T.Y. Hilton's in his 30s. And Nelson Aguilar isn't really an upgrade over Corey Davis, so it looks like we are not getting to add a superstar receiver this offseason. And here they are telling me that Quinnen Williams offered no value to the team, but we are going to extend his 5th-year option anyway, because it's Quinnen Williams and he's probably our best defensive lineman. Alright, so I've made one mistake apparently. I thought CJ Mosley was a middle linebacker. Turns out he's an outside linebacker, and he's an 82 overall. It's still an upgrade over our other outside linebacker, but we still need a middle linebacker now, but there was still no one in free agency I was really willing to pay. I did not show any of the mock drafts, mainly because the mock drafts are really pointless. It's just your draft board. It's just a standard draft board with team logos behind it. That's all it is. They just go in order here. So I can almost guarantee you the Commanders are about to go with quarterback Phillip Lane. So let's see if I'm right. With the 1st overall pick, the Washington Commanders take quarterback Phillip Lane, and then the Giants will take, I assume, the 2nd quarterback. No, they take Perry Gary, the defensive tackle out of North Carolina. And now the Texans, who I thought was my pick because of my Texans franchise for a second, take Brandon Thornton out of USC. And the Lions take quarterback Kevin, however the hell you pronounce that last name. All right, so it is our pick here at pick 5. We have another pick at 11, and I'm looking at the draft board here, and I'm torn between Jason Walker, the left tackle out of Georgia, or the right end out of Auburn, Devin Knight. We have 2 really young, or kind of young, they're going into their 5th and 6th year at edge rusher, and Knight was named the college's best pass rusher of this last season. But honestly, I think we need a tackle a little bit more to help keep Zach Wilson not dead. And at left tackle, we obviously have Mekhi Becton. But at right tackle, we have George Fant, who is 74 overall. And in his 7th year, he's obviously not going to get any better. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to take the left tackle, Jason Walker out of Georgia, and that is our 5th overall pick. Boring, but I think it's a player we needed, and he has a hidden dev trait. The Vikings take Devin Knight with the very next pick, not really a shocker, and now we'll go all the way to 11. All right, we're going to make a trade here with the 11th pick. I'm going to trade it to Green Bay, and we are going to get their 1st-round pick for this year, which is pick 30, and their 1st-round pick for next year, which is probably not going to be a very high one, but there was no one on the draft board that I was absolutely in love with. So I've now jumped to pick 30, and I'm looking at middle linebacker Junior Hamner out of Notre Dame. What we know about him is he has B awareness, B play rec, B tackle, C zone, and B impact luck. Don't really know why that's a needed trait there. But let's go ahead and take Junior Hammer. He is also a hidden dev trait, which is huge for us. So I tried to sign Chris Godwin, obviously did not work, but now we're looking at wide receiver Lester Tyson, who is 6'3" out of Oregon State, runs a 4.4 140, and we know he has B catching, C catching traffic. He can't really route run, short routes or medium routes, but I'm going to hope that he's a little bit better than that, so we are going to take wide receiver Lester Tyson, 91 speed, normal dev trait here at the beginning of the 2nd round. And then here at the end of the 2nd round with pick 23, we're going to take right outside linebacker Marvin Howard, who is also a normal dev trait, but we'll see how good he is after the draft. Here at the beginning of the third round in the last draft pick, I will show, the rest you will see after this in the draft recap. But I'm looking at free safety Quentin Rayford out of Stanford. He has A hit power, A tackle, and C zone coverage, B awareness, B play rec. Yeah, we're going to take him, but he also did not compete in the combine. So I don't know if that can be a good or a bad thing, but he is a normal dev trait. So I only did the first 3 rounds. I let the CPU draft the rest here, but it looks like Jason Walker is only a 71 overall, which kind of sucks, but he is a hidden dev trait. Junior Hamner is a 75 though, but we hit big on Quentin Rayford, who is a 74 overall. I wish he had a hidden dev trait, but he has a normal dev trait. And then past that, they got a 69 overall receiver, a 69 overall running back, a 64 DT, a 65 right end, a 68 wide receiver, and a 65 corner. All right, I passed on Jarius Bradford, but he is an 81 overall rookie out of Texas. That is an insane pick for the Lions. And now I've officially changed some positions. Elijah Vera Tucker has been moved from left guard to right guard, and rookie Jason Walker has been moved from left tackle to right tackle. All right, here we are ready to jump into midseason of season 2. We are now an 81 overall team with an 83 overall defense and an 80 overall offense. I think we started as a 75 overall offense, so we definitely are improving there, and I will see you guys at midseason. At our bye week here in week 8, we are 5-2 and leading the division. I was not expecting that. At this point in the season, Zach Wilson has 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall has 115 carries for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Receiving, Garrett Wilson, 43 catches for 579 yards and 1 touchdown. Uzama has 5 touchdowns, Corey Davis has 5 touchdowns, and Elijah Moore has 3. On the defensive side of the ball, Jordan Whitehead is leading the team in tackles with 48. In sacks, it is Carl Lawson with 7.5. CJ Mosley has a couple, John Franklin Myers has a couple, along with Quinnen Williams and Quincy Williams. And then Jermaine Johnson has 1, Bryce Huff has 1, and then Junior Hamner, our rookie middle linebacker, has half of 1. And interceptions, Jordan Whitehead has 1, Ahmad Gardner has 1, and Quentin Rayford, the rookie, has 1. We also know rookie tackle Jason Walker is a 74 overall and a star dev trait now. And the other first round pick we had, Junior Hamner, is also a star dev trait, and he is a 77 overall base, a 78 overall right now with his boost. Yeah, I definitely read that wrong in the first season, but we are the number 6 offense right now and the number 5 defense in terms of points per game. We are actually pretty good right now. And at 10-7, we win the AFC East and are headed to the playoffs as the 3 seed to take on the Denver Broncos. Looks like our first round pick that is coming from the Packers will obviously be pretty high. They are the 2 seed. Sadly, we do not make it far into the playoffs. We lose in round 1 against the Broncos, 21-28. But let's take a look at some stats. Zach Wilson throws for 4,500 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall ends with 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. Receiving-wise, Corey Davis, 74 catches and 9 touchdowns. CJ Uzama, 101 receptions for 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Elijah Moore with 7. Where is Garrett Wilson? I scrolled right past him. 83 catches for 5 touchdowns. Also, side note, we had 3 receivers go over 1,000 yards, or 2 receivers and a tight end. Elijah Moore is only 100 yards away. Leading the team in tackles was rookie Junior Hamner with 112. What about sacks? That goes to Quinnen Williams, who got 12. Carl Lawson had 11. What about interceptions? Jordan Whitehead got 3. Ahmad Gardner got 3. And then CJ Mosley got 2. Desmond Ridder has exploded onto the scene, throwing for almost 5,300 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Jalen Hurts leads the league in interceptions with 19. Touchdowns is tied between Desmond Ridder and Patrick Mahomes. Jonathan Taylor runs for over 2,000 yards, leading the league, and in touchdowns, Leonard Fournette had 23 on just 1,000 yards. Receiving, Michael Thomas had 111 catches, Alan Lazard 109, Pitts 106, Keenan Allen 103, Uzama 101, and Darnell Mooney had 100. What about touchdowns? Drake London was 16, so the Falcons' young players are playing really well, especially because it said Pitts has over 100 receptions, right? Yeah, he had 106 for 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns. So the Falcons are becoming pretty good. Isaiah Simmons and Denzel Perriman lead the league in tackles with 138 apiece. In sacks, Joey Bosa with 21, and interceptions, Chidobe Awuzie with 6. In points per game, we finished as the 14th ranked team in offense, and on defense, the number 2 defense in the league. And the Super Bowl in Season 2 will be between the Atlanta Falcons and the Kansas City Chiefs, Atlanta rebuilding their franchise in a grand total of 2 full seasons. And the Atlanta Falcons have won the Super Bowl in Desmond Ritter's second year he wins a Super Bowl MVP. The NFL MVP was Dak Prescott, Coach of the Year was Bruce Arians, Offensive Player of the Year was Jonathan Taylor, defensively was Joey Bosa, and then Phillip Lane and Jamar Stewart were the Rookies of the Year. Once again, not too many players to re-sign. We are bringing back Bryce Huff and Connor McGovern. The other players that are leaving are George Fant, Ty Johnson, Quincy Williams, Chuma Edoga, if I hope I'm saying that right, and Evan Brown. A few big retirements, the first one being Tom Brady. Our backup quarterback Joe Flacco has retired, and wide receiver Julio Jones has retired. Jason Kelce retired a Dallas Cowboy, and I would absolutely throw up if I ever saw Jason Kelce in a Cowboys uniform. If I wanted to move on at quarterback, this would be the offseason to do it. Aaron Rodgers is right here in free agency, and Baker Mayfield. I still like Baker. He's an 81 overall star depth trait, only 28 years old. But like I said, we're rolling with Zach Wilson this entire episode. But Aaron Rodgers there is very, very interesting. This offseason, I'm going a little bit harder in free agency. We're going to go after Deron Payne to put on the other side of Quinnen Williams because that would be a terrifying combination. Darnell Savage at free safety, 85 overall, 26 years old, star depth trait. Then we got Ogbanya Okoronkwo, or Obo for short if you follow him at Oklahoma. Joseph Noteboom just as a backup left tackle, Titus Howard as a backup left guard, and Lonnie Johnson as a backup strong safety. And it looks like we managed to land everybody. Deron Payne, Darnell Savage, Obo, Joseph Noteboom, Titus Howard, and Lonnie Johnson. I am perfectly fine with this free agency class. And once again, it's asking me for a 5th-year option. I don't know why all the 5th-year options, they just talk shit on the player, but yeah, we're going to keep Mekhi Becton's 5th-year option. I did make one more free agent signing, quarterback Carson Wentz. He is going to back up Zach Wilson. Just in case Wilson goes down, we have a pretty solid backup in terms of ratings, at least. We are here at the next draft, and let's go ahead and take a look at this draft board to see who is projected to be the #1 pick. Wide receiver Carlos Dukes out of Clemson, 6'3", C catch in traffic, B release. We don't know his catching. We know he runs a 4.34 40, so he's pretty fast. And he looks like he should be a solid #1 pick, even though I don't really agree with taking a receiver #1. Looks like Brandon Boykin has beefed up a bit since last time we saw him in the NFL. But with the #1 pick in the draft, the Texans, who already have like Brandon Cooks and Odell Beckham, will go ahead and add to that with wide receiver Carlos Duke. We don't have a pick until pick 22, so let's go ahead and just jump there. This might be a controversial pick, but I'm going to burn a first-round pick on tight end TJ Carlson out of Alabama. He runs a 4.58 40. He's 4th in tight end in strengths from the combine. B catching, B deep route, B spectacular catch. I don't know if he can block, but we're going to go with tight end TJ Carlson, who has a hidden dev trait. And now with the Packers pick here at pick 29 at the end of the first round, I'm looking at left guard D. Cates, who was 2nd in bench press and 1st during the pro days. B impact block, B awareness, C run block finesse. C pass block finesse, B run block power. We're going to go ahead and take D. Cates since left guard's pretty high on the list of needs for us. I think it was like a C- on the, or it's a C. And here at pick 22 in the second round, I'm looking at right outside linebacker Bryce Chapman. What we know about him, he has A awareness, A injury, A man, A zone, a pretty good coverage player, and a hidden dev trait. And because it's still a slight position of need because we really don't have a backup left outside linebacker, how about Dimitri Hemsley out of Wisconsin? B block shedding, B tackle, B catching, C finesse, C man coverage, and he runs a 4.72. We'll go ahead and take Dimitri Hemsley. And then here at the end of the third round, cornerback Denzel Leary out of Texas Tech. We don't know much about him. I know he has C zone, B injury, C stamina, D play recognition, but I also know he's the fastest corner in the class, so we're going to go ahead and take him. Let's see how I did. TJ Carlson is a 73 overall tight end with a hidden dev trait, so he should be pretty solid for us. D. Cates, probably not the best draft pick I could have made. 68 overall, that hurts to see a little bit, or 69 overall, I guess 68 due to low morale. Bryce Chapman, 70 overall, but he had a hidden dev trait. Dimitri Hemsley, a 68, and Denzel Leary, a 68. How did the CPU do? It took Julius Dunn, who's 66, a 69 overall defensive tackle, and a 67 overall running back. The best player in the draft was a defensive back that went to Carolina, who was an 81 overall. And I want to see Carlos Duke, who was the #1 pick, is a 78 overall receiver with 93 speed. Yeah, he is going to be really, really good for Houston. And then where's the, yeah, I knew this receiver was in the draft as well, 74 overall, hidden dev trait, and he has 96 speed. It looks like we could be starting the season on a very rough note because Corey Davis and Walter Abbott are number 1 and number 2 receivers because Elijah Moore is injured and so is Garrett Wilson, so that could be really bad for us. We're going to move Carlson to the starting tight end spot because he is a rookie with a hidden dev trait. On defense, here are the starters. We are starting Chapman to see what his dev trait is and hopefully get him to progress a little bit. And here are the rest of the starters. It looks like we are not going to be missing these guys very long. Garrett Wilson has only gone 1 more game, and then Elijah Moore is gone 4. So we are going to go ahead and simulate to the midseason point. Last time, I think we were like 5-2. Let's hope to do that again. At week 8, we are 4-3 this time, and we are 2nd in the division. Zach Wilson has 2,200, almost 2,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall, 104 carries for 605 yards and 6 touchdowns. Receiving, Corey Davis, 33 for 7 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, 36 for 3. Tyler Conklin, 40 for 3. What about Carlson? Why is he not getting much playing time? 7 catches, 58 yards. I guess I need to go edit the depth chart again. It looks like he has still not played enough downs to reveal his dev trait, so we will probably have to wait till after the season to know that now. Same thing with Bryce Chapman. He has only played 330 downs. We still don't know his dev trait. It looks like we had the 17th ranked offense and the 20th ranked defense, so we did not play well this year. We're going to have to look to rebound next season. Zach Wilson almost throws for 5,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 20 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall, 244 carries and 12 touchdowns. Receiving, Corey Davis caught 78 balls for 12 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, 73 for 5. Elijah Moore also caught 5 touchdowns. Defensively, leading the team in tackles was middle linebacker Jordan Hamner for the 2nd straight year. Sacks, John Franklin Myers got 10.5. Carl Lawson got 10. Interceptions, DJ Reed got 3. Jordan Whitehead got 2. Sauce Gardner got 2. And then Hamner, Sherwood, Mosley, Bryce Hall, and Darnell Savage all got 1. Mac Jones was an absolutely insane year, 5,400 yards, 41 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, but Dak Prescott with 50 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Okay, that is a little insane. And Zach Wilson led the league in picks, which is awesome. And yeah, Sam Howell, quarterback for the Buccaneers now, 42 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. On the ground, Ezekiel Elliott got 1,800 yards and 17 touchdowns. That also led the league, tied with Leonard Fournette. Receiving-wise, DJ Moore caught 108 passes, leading the league. What about yards? That also goes to DJ Moore, and touchdowns goes to Jarek Reese, a rookie receiver that Dallas took, caught 14 touchdowns. Levante David leads the league in tackles. In sacks, it goes to Jeffrey Simmons with 21. Interceptions goes to Jamal Adams, Dante Jackson, and Jalen Ramsey, who all got 6. And the Chiefs get redemption after losing last year's Super Bowl to the Falcons as they beat Dallas 24-17. The NFL MVP goes to Lamar Jackson. Coach of the Year is Mike McCarthy. Offensive Player of the Year is also Lamar Jackson. Defensive Player of the Year is Jeffrey Simmons. And then 2 rookies are Garrett Anthony and Shelton Bozeman for the Rookies of the Year. And Chris Jones apparently won MVP of the Super Bowl. So there were a few players I needed to re-sign this time. We got back Quinnen Williams. Carl Lawson said he would rather test free agency. We get to keep Sauce Gardner, we get to keep Garrett Wilson, we get to keep Bryce Hall. I'm going to let Corey Davis hit free agency just because he's the 3rd best receiver on this team, and we're going to see what's out there. Jordan Whitehead, I want to actually bring back because he's been pretty good for us, so let me try to offer him a contract. Okay, we're going to keep Jordan Whitehead. Laken Tomlinson, though, is 32 years old. We're going to see what we can do at left guard instead. DJ Reed is coming back. Ashton Davis is coming back. I'm not going to offer Tyler Conklin. I'm not going to offer Braden Mann. Actually, I will offer Braden Mann because he's a young punter, and I really don't care about the punter position. So he comes back. Jermaine Johnson has re-signed. We're going to let Doug Costin hit free agency. Cameron Clark and Nate Evans are both going to free agency. All right, so I've made a few offers here, starting with wide receiver Jameson Williams, then kicker Jason Sanders, left guard John Runyon, center Austin Jackson, and right guard Dylan Radunes. I hope I'm saying that right. Plan on him being a backup. He might start because he has a star depth trait and a scheme fit. John Runyon will probably start. And then we have Jason Sanders, and then Jameson Williams would obviously be our slot receiver replacing Corey Davis. Well, we lost John Runyon and Austin Jackson, but it looks like we get Jameson Williams and Radunes. All right, and we are here at the next draft now. We have picked 12 in this draft, and let's see who the Giants take first. They are taking Wide receiver Dorian Westbrook, so 2 seasons in a row a wide receiver goes 1. And with our first pick in this draft at pick 12, I'm looking at left end Jose Hall out of Purdue. What we know about him is A, finesse, B, impact, A, tackle, A, pursuit. Doesn't have good stamina, but we're going to go ahead and take Jose Hall, who has a hidden dev trait. That actually reminded me to go look at the other dev traits that we didn't know at midseason, but now we do know them. TJ Carlson, the tight end we took in the first round last year, is a star dev trait. And so is outside linebacker Bryce Chapman. And here with pick 12 in the second round, I'm looking at center Alexander Wilcox out of Iowa State. What we know about him is he's got B, pass block, A, pass block finesse, A, run block, and B, awareness, and also a hidden dev trait. And now in the third round, left outside linebacker Dalton Bozeman has B, block shedding, D, finesse move, and D, play rec, but has B, hit power, and B, impact block. I still don't know why impact block is a thing for linebackers, but we'll go ahead and take him. How good was this draft class? Jose Hall was a 75 overall. Alexander Wilcox is a 71. Bozeman might have been the worst pick of the draft for us. He's a 64 overall, but we did get Deshaun Winslow from the CPU, a 73 overall slot receiver in the fourth round. That's actually a pretty good pick. And then no, we did have a worse player, DeMar McDougal, a running back out of Southern Miss. The best player in the draft was Marco German, a defensive back that went to the Bears. And it looks like the Texans get a new quarterback. I'm going to attempt to make this blockbuster trade in order to acquire Josh Allen from the Jaguars. We are giving up a 1 this year, a 1 next year, and a 3 this year. And Josh Allen is officially a member of the New York Jets. And here's how we are changing that. CJ Mosley has hit his 11th year and has declined a bit. So Bryce Chapman is switching sides and he's going to play on the left side, and Josh Allen will play in his spot on the right. And with that, I will kick off the fourth season here and jump to the midway point. And at the midway point in the season, we are 5-2 and first in the AFC East. Midway through the year, Zach Wilson has 1,800 yards, 11 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. And Breece Hall has 104 carries for 488 yards and 6 touchdowns. Receiving-wise, Jamison Williams, 28 catches for 3 touchdowns. TJ Carlson, 35 for 4 touchdowns. And what about defense? Even though I only half the time checked this. Jordan Whitehead's leading the team in tackles. What about sacks? Josh Allen has 6, and interceptions. Junior Hamner and DJ Reed both have 2. Here are the screens I think I've been looking for the entire time. We are the 12th ranked offense and the 11th ranked defense right now. And we finished the season 14-3 and end up with the 1 seed in the playoffs. So we go from not making the playoffs last year to getting the 1 seed and the bye this year. Looking at this kind of sucks. I'm still in the bye week, but Mekhi Becton is out for the next 2 weeks, so we should get him back if we make it to the conference championship. But these two may be out the entire playoffs. It looks like both 7 seeds managed to win their games as the Texans take down the Chiefs and the Packers take down the Cowboys. So our first game will be against the Houston Texans. And we finally win our first playoff game of this rebuild, 31-28 over the Texans. And it looks like Zach Wilson got injured for a minute. Let's hope that's not too serious, but Carson went 10 of 15 for 127 yards and a touchdown. And Zach Wilson went 10 of 21 for 200 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Rushing-wise, we really didn't do anything, and receiving-wise, Jamison Williams caught a touchdown, and Breece Hall caught a touchdown on a 61-yard pass. Here is how the rest of the playoff games went. The Bengals take down the Patriots, the Cowboys knock out the Packers, and the Panthers take down the Washington football team or Washington Commanders, whichever one you prefer. And it looks like Carson Wentz will get a chance to prove himself because Zach Wilson has a dislocated knee and is out the next 4 games, which will be the rest of the season. So now Carson Wentz gets a chance to pull a Nick Foles. And Carson Wentz has sent us to the Super Bowl as we beat the Bengals 38-17. Carson Wentz goes 21 of 30 for 295 yards and a touchdown. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall 90 yards and 3 touchdowns. Receiving-wise, TJ Carlson 8 for 114. Yeah, that's a Carson Wentz game. Just dump it off to the tight end about 8 to 10 times. And Garrett Wilson 7 for 72 and a touchdown. And the Cowboys get knocked out by the Panthers, so we will be taking on the Carolina Panthers in the Super Bowl. Let's see if Carson Wentz can now pull off what Nick Foles did. Our young franchise quarterback got injured late in the season. Carson Wentz comes in and plays 2 pretty good games to get us to the Super Bowl, but can he win it? I don't know if you can honestly write a better story than that. The Jets win the Super Bowl 35-30 over the Panthers. Super Bowl MVP is Jameson Williams. Patrick Mahomes is the NFL MVP. We get Coach of the Year. Patrick Mahomes also is Offensive Player of the Year, and George Karlaftis is the Defensive Player of the Year. But the big story here is that we win a Super Bowl without Zach Wilson, so we are going to do Season 5 to see if Wilson can stay healthy and repeat as Super Bowl champion. Zach Wilson during the regular season throws for 4,600 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, so he played really well. Just got injured in the divisional round in our first game. Carson comes in, wins us the Super Bowl in a perfect story, apparently. Breece Hall, 263 carries, 1,300 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Receiving wise, Jameson Williams, 72 catches, 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, 74, 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. TJ Carlson, 75 catches, 790 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Jason Whitehead leads the team in tackles with 103. In sacks, Josh Allen got 17. I would say those first-round picks are definitely worth that. Interceptions, DJ Reed got 4. Junior Hamner got 3. And Ahmad Sauce Gardner got 3. Patrick Mahomes leads the league with 5,300 yards and also 51 touchdowns from Mahomes. Leading the league in picks was Sam Howell with 26. We have Mahomes with 51 touchdowns, Phillip Lane with 42, and Mac Jones with 38. What kind of season did Joe Mixon have? 1,800, almost 1,900 yards and 25 touchdowns. Absolutely insane from Mixon. Michael Thomas catches 118 passes for 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns. Who led the league in touchdowns? TJ Carlson ties Terry McLaurin and Rondale Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster with 14. Kenneth Murray, former Oklahoma Sooner, gets 142 tackles to lead the league. What about sacks? George Karlaftis with 23.5. Interceptions was Jeff Okudah with 8 and Shaquille Griffin with 8. We also finished as the 7th offense in points per game and the 2nd defense in points per game. Let's go over this re-signing period. Zach Mullen is going to leave. Mekhi Becton tried to leave, but I franchise tagged him, so I will pay him $23.8 million to come back and play for us. Elijah Moore is getting re-signed. Breece Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Zach Wilson got his big contract extension because he has been very good for us pretty much this entire rebuild. Michael Carter is leaving. Joseph Noteboom, Connor McGovern, and Jamian Sherwood are all going to test free agency. I attempted to re-sign Super Bowl winning hero Carson Wentz, but he wants to test free agency, which is sort of realistic. So I will try to bring him back in free agency to back up Zach Wilson. Lonnie Johnson Jr. is leaving. CJ Mosley is leaving. Tyler Huntley, Jeremy Ruckert is staying, and Max Mitchell is staying. The only negotiations we are going into with this season is backup running back Chuba Hubbard and backup quarterback Carson Wentz. And we land both Chuba Hubbard and Carson Wentz, so he comes back to back up Zach Wilson again, and Chuba Hubbard will now back up Breece Hall. And with the first pick in this NFL draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will select Emmett Carroll, quarterback out of Oklahoma. Just a reminder that I traded our first and third round pick, so this will be the only selection that I personally make, and then the CPU will do the rest of the draft. Just because this roster is pretty well set right now, I'm going to take just some depth here. A defensive back, Kamani Austin out of Notre Dame, has B press, C man, and ran a 4.43, so we'll take Kamani Austin. So just a quick reminder, I only selected Kamani Austin here, who is a 67 overall, but the CPU did take a 71 overall wide receiver in the 5th round. And the best player in the draft was Dalvin Baldwin, a running back out of Penn State with a hidden depth rate. He is an 82 overall. That might be the highest I've ever seen. Before we jump into the last season of this rebuild, let's look at the depth chart to see how far this roster has come. Zach Wilson is an 85 overall. At running back, we have a 91 overall Breece Hall and an 81 overall Chuba Hubbard. At wide receiver, we have an 89 Elijah Moore and an 84 Jameson Williams. We have also Garrett Wilson, but he is currently injured, so he's not showing up on the depth chart. At tight end, we have TJ Carlson, one of our first round picks. Left tackle is Mekhi Becton, who is now a 95. At left guard, D. Cates. At center, Alexander Wilcox. At right guard, Elijah Vera Tucker. Right tackle is Jason Walker, one of our other first round picks, I believe. At left end, we have Jose Hall. At right end, we have Jermaine Johnson. The only reason that is the way it is because John Franklin Myers is injured, so he is not in right now. Defensive tackle, we have X Factor and 99 overall Quentin Williams and 94 overall Deron Payne. Left outside linebacker, 93 overall, Josh Allen. Middle linebacker, 86 overall, Junior Hamner. Right outside linebacker, Bryce Chapman. Defensive back, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, followed by Bryce Hall, followed by DJ Reed. This has really not changed the entire series. Free safety is Ashton Davis because it looks like Darnell Savage is also injured. That's great. Strong safety is Jordan Whitehead, backed up by Ashton Davis. It looks like all of those injuries are only going to miss the first game, which is a huge sigh of relief for me. So now we will jump to mid-season and see how we do in Season 5. At the midway point, we are 4-3 and 3rd in the division. How in the hell is that possible? The Bills are 6-1 and the Patriots are 5-2. Right now, Zach Wilson only has 1,800 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall, 99 carries, 463 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And receiving-wise, Jameson Williams, 27 catches for 2 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson has 5, and Elijah Moore has 5. On defense, Junior Hamner is leading the team in tackles with 57. What about sacks? Jermaine Johnson with 5.5, and interceptions, Junior Hamner, Jordan Whitehead, and Sauce Gardner all have 1. So now I will jump to the playoffs and we will see if we can claw our way into a wild card spot or somehow get the division lead back. We do manage to sneak into the playoffs at 10-7. The Bills finished 14-3, winning the division. We come in as the 6th seed to take on the 3 seed Ravens, and here are the rest of the playoffs. We get to keep our hope alive of defending our championship. We beat the Ravens 42-27. Zach Wilson does not get injured this time, goes 27 of 34 for 366 yards and 3 touchdowns. He played really, really well today. But sadly, our season would come to an end the next week in Buffalo as we lose 24-27. Zach Wilson did not play bad though, 24 of 33 for 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Breece Hall couldn't do much, 60 yards and a touchdown. Jameson Williams got a touchdown, and Breece Hall got a touchdown. We're going to take a look at season stats before we simulate to the Super Bowl to figure out who is winning this year. Wilson has 4,500 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 19 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall, 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Receiving, TJ Carlson, 78 catches, 926 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, 67 catches for 9 touchdowns. Elijah Moore got 8. Then over on defense, Junior Hamner with 125 tackles. Sacks was Quentin Williams and John Franklin Myers. Interceptions goes to DJ Reed and Jordan Whitehead. Gardner got 2. Davis got 1. Hamner got 1, and Bryce Hall got 1. We finished 22nd in points per game on offense and 12 on defense in points per game, and now we will jump to the Super Bowl. So the 5th and final Super Bowl in this rebuild video is the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys. Can Buffalo finally win a Super Bowl? And the Buffalo Bills get their first Super Bowl win, 41-27 over the Cowboys, and Josh Allen wins Super Bowl MVP. Lamar Jackson got NFL MVP. Vic Fangio got Coach of the Year. Lamar Jackson was also Offensive Player of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year for I think the 2nd straight year is George Karlaftis. But that is the end of this rebuild video. We did 5 seasons. We got 1 Super Bowl. My goal was to not get rid of Zach Wilson to see if I could build a team around Zach Wilson to win a Super Bowl. We did win a Super Bowl, and Zach Wilson was the main starter, but he went down in the playoffs. Carson Wentz comes in, pulls a Nick Foles, wins us a Super Bowl, which I guess thanks Carson for that one because we got 1 Super Bowl win in 5 years. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.